I'm so grateful for another day to help stimulate the mental. Time to strategize, huddle up, where's your circle? I can feel the moment radiate through the convo. Talk is cheap, turn your faith into work. I drink my second cup and put my hands in the dirt. 2 cups, drinking straight drip from the earth. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. One for the wake up. One for the wake up. Two for the work. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. Back to 2 Cups Cafe, where I'm your host, Alan C. Jackson. And tonight is a very special event for me. This is my first live taping. I want to thank everybody that came out to Toledo's Wine Shares to just partake with this with me. This is my 3rd season of 2 Cups Cafe, called One for the Wake, One for the Work. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes just to kind of break down the impetus of why I started the podcast and what it means to me. So I grew up just around coffee, just smelling coffee, tasting coffee. But I will always get up in the morning. I work with at-risk juvenile males, and I would get up before they got up, make my coffee, and I'd be on my first cup. And that's the time where I just kind of meditate, see what I'm thankful for, see what I'm working towards, see what I'm dreaming about. And then by the time that second cup, time to pour that second cup, it's time to get to work, because I got to get these guys out the door successfully for school, for doctor's appointments, and for life. So they are actually the first ones that began calling me 2 Cups. They say, hey, big man, you had your 2 cups, you had your 2 cups. And that's why I kind of coined the phrase, one for the wake, one for the work. So this is my 3rd season, and today I have a special guest, a young man that's doing amazing things named Lewis Lane. He's a data scientist.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what that is, and I did not chat GPT it on purpose.
And you are in good company. I usually don't lead with that at all. So don't worry about it. We'll probably discover it and explore
for sure.
some aspects of it, right?
For sure. And I just thought it was so interesting that is your vocation. But as a young man, it's just so many things that people do these days that I have no idea, how they discovered them, what led you down that path, what piqued your interest to to be a scientist.
Yeah.
And I usually like to go back to, everybody enjoys a good origin story.
Okay.
So, I want to get to your origin story, see how you grew up, see who inspired you and things of that nature. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so at this point in my life, I consider myself a Toledo native, right?
Okay.
I probably won't go too far back or dig too deep, just simply because my origin story is the story of a lot of people in our community, right?
Yeah.
Grew up poor, single mother household, all of those things, but not to minimize it, but I don't like focusing on those aspects of it, right? For as long as I can remember, just from an origin story aspect, I've always wanted to be a scientist,
Okay.
right? We grew up in the Woodger Village, which is a low-income household.
Exactly what you're talking
Right? And I remember just every single night walking to the trash can, looking up at the stars, just wishing, I want to be a scientist, I want to be a scientist, I want to be... I never knew what type of scientist or where I would land. Even with the data scientist title, right? That doesn't really capture the curiosity and the ambition that I've had just around this idea of using numbers and discovering the world's secrets, right? So that's really where I credit a lot of my beginnings from. It's it was something in me that I always wanted to achieve. Now, what led me down this path is actually I'm prior military.
Okay.
My last deployment was Kuwait, if you know anything about Kuwait, so I'm prior Air Force. It's a vacation deployment, right? So I was fortunate to have that one. But we had a problem that we had to solve, and I was able to use math in a very interesting way to help solve that problem. Now, this was 2018, roughly just about, and at that time, I didn't know that being a data scientist was a career field that you can go into, but I know I like math. I knew I like writing code or programming, and when I got back to the States, I was able to find out that you can combine those 2 things. And this is what they were calling it, was data scientists.
Okay.
At a very high level, I yell at numbers all day. I tell people, hey, in the field of uncertainty, here's something that's a little bit more certain by building predictive models, right? Dealing a lot with natural language processing. That's typically my day-to-day, but even now as a professional, again, that title data scientist doesn't encapsulate everything that I take on, everything that I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you attend public school?
Yeah.
When you went to Woodruff Village?
Yeah. So actually, high school, I went to Libby.
You went to Libby.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was part of the last class out of Libby. But when I say I went to Libby, it wasn't like I was there kicking it or anything. I went in Libby and I left Libby, right? So I went in and out of Libby. During that time, I would say about the 10th grade, my 10th grade year is where I had probably the biggest pivot in my life. A lot of people like to look at me now and think, make a bunch of assumptions.
Right.
But the person that I am today, it took a lot of work.
Okay.
And I remember, I can't kid you not, it was 10th grade year. Big white shirts wearing, baggy pants and everything. I was pretending that I was something that I wasn't. And I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and I was like, this isn't you. And at that moment, I just decided, I wanted more, right? I wanted to do something more. And in my head, for some reason, I thought the military would give me that path.
Okay. So that's how you kind of had this epiphany. And then you wanted to be like, you know what? I'm going to change my trajectory. I'm about to just go to the Air Force. What made you choose the Air Force?
Ego.
Okay.
In Air Force, they love to say we're the 1% of the 1%.
Okay.
And at that time, for me, it was about being the best version of myself. So I wanted to engage in everything that was the best version of itself. And that's literally it. I can't say that I've ever wanted to fly a plane or be do the whole fighter jet thing, or it was the 1% of the 1%. And it was probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life, outside of picking, and I shouldn't even say picking, but being with the person I decided to marry, right? Outside of being with my wife, joining the military. For me, this isn't being patriotic or anything, but it gave me something that I felt like I was missing.
Yes.
And then once I was able to gather that, I would say being in the military is a two-way trade. The military is going to take, you should also take from the military as well. So once I got what I felt that I needed, I went ahead and exit and started my life just as a civilian.
How long did you serve?
7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A nice chunk of time.
Yeah, it was. It was interesting because my wife, my partner, she's amazing. She allowed me, and I do say allowed because she gave me the grace to not only join the military, but do my deployments, to be stationed elsewhere. And we've been together for a while.
Yeah.
And we're also young parents. So during that entire time, she held down the household and made sure that I didn't feel as if I was an absent father.
Right.
When the reality was that, I am in a different state. I am in a different country. And she's the one responsible for getting the kids up, getting them to and from school, and making sure the household is running smoothly. So I credit her with so much.
That's powerful. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we spoke about this off camera, but you met your wife in high school?
Yes. Okay. Yep. High school sweethearts. Now that sounds very poetic, but as you can imagine, that comes with a lot of stressors, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of grace. But when you know, I feel like a lot of men know the woman that they want to marry, that they want to be with. And as crazy as it sounds, even in high school, I knew that she was meant for me, even if I had to butt my head a couple of times and figure out some things. Like, I'm no saint whatsoever, but I've been able to grow and mature with this woman in a way that I'm eternally grateful for.
Yeah, I totally identify with you in that regard. I got married at 21, and I had no clue what in the world I was doing.
Yeah.
My wife and I met at an auto factory at the time, and she was prior military. She was in the Army. She's a little bit older than me. I say that not to, because she's gonna watch this.
Yeah.
Not to say that she's old. She's like, you always tell people I'm older than you, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's just that she went to the military. That we both met at the auto factory, and I was raised by my grandparents, right? So my grandfather was old school. So my grandmother, bring him his dinner. She, wash his clothes, and he did. His job was take out the garbage, but that was telling me to take the garbage out. You know what I'm saying?
That's it is.
So we both get off work. We get off work 2:00 in the morning, and I'm coming home. I'm thinking she's supposed to go in there, make me something to eat, or she's supposed to do everything that I thought a woman was supposed to do at the time, and she was like, I'm just as tired as you are.
Probably even more, right? So That's one of the credits that I would give to the military. And it was an interesting pageant with me and my wife. I'm not saying I'm dominant or any. When I say dominant, meaning I'm not taking on like the alpha male role, but I grew up in traditional systems thinking that a man is supposed to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But I would be deployed out and then come back and try to say, okay, I'm running everything now.
Right.
And there was a deployment. I was gone about 8 months, and this one was very interesting because when I got back, I had to realize that she's been running this without you for the last 8 months. Like, you have to understand that it isn't about roles within a partnership. There's days where she's the captain of the boat, I'm just the wind in the sails.
Yeah.
There's other times where I need to make a decision and she needs to support me. But there's this dynamic, this fluid behavior of back and forth that really helps everything works. And then anytime I hear someone go down that path of a woman should be a housemaker, I'm like, do you know how hard it is to be a housemaker? Right? Not a stay-at-home spouse, but a housemaker.
Right.
That's difficult. When you wake up, when you go to sleep, the only time you're not managing that house and making sure that it's running is when your eyes are closed. There's no room for you to be an individual, to have your own personal desires and wants. And last time I checked, just because you're born with the right parts doesn't qualify you to lead a household.
No, for sure.
And it's understanding those things that, I think a lot of men will benefit from understanding that being a leader of a household is much more than just trying to make and tell someone what to do.
Definitely.
It's about understanding that you have a team behind you, right? Between your kids, between your partners, between your friends, right? That you have a team that is there to make sure that this goal is reached. And as long as you guys are all going in the same direction, everything else really doesn't matter.
No, for sure. I agree with you 100%. I know for me, what helped me was, besides bumping my head over and over, was I had a good support system. Like I have my older brother, he was an example for me. My good friend, he's also my pastor, he was an example for me. And we kind of all learned together, but we knew that, we wanted to be married.
Yeah.
Hey, we wanted to raise our families and we wanted to be there for our children in a way that, we wish that people would have been there for us.
So you just said something interesting, that you had this system that you guys were learning together, a peer group, right? Which I love peer groups.
Yeah.
How did you balance that peer group with also the societal expectations, right? Be it through media, through, someone saying that this is how a man should show up and all of that. Like, you have your real-time learnings that probably doesn't align with, like, hey, I don't want to take out the trash today. Right? Or I can't get to the trash today, but the wife has asked me 3 times.
Right.
How do you balance you guys learning in real time with all of the societal pressures or the societal narratives about what it means to be a man in a household?
Well, for me personally, I would say I cut off everything that wasn't going in the direction we were going in. For me, I became a Christian, so I literally, like, for a period of, it had to be at least 10 years. Like, I love hip hop.
Yeah.
I disassociated with it because all of the messages at the time, well, probably still now, were, drugs, women, guns, violence, this bravado lifestyle. So first thing I did, I was cut that. And then I immersed myself in trying to become what I needed to be as a father, as a husband. And I took my cues from, other men that were doing it successfully around me, but then also reading and desiring in my heart not to want to be a statistic, not to want to fumble the ball, not to want to bring disgrace to God, but then also to my family, also to my mother, also to my brothers, my friends. So that mindset for me is what carried me. Like I said before, it was, at first it was getting up, going to the auto factory every day. Like I say, the best thing I ever did outside of giving my life to Christ, marrying my wife, had this work ethic that I had to take care of, first of all, myself and then my family. So it didn't matter what the job was, if it was mopping the floor, if, my ego was gone in that regard. Like, I had to take care of my family. And then I just been blessed having a willingness to work and a willingness and an open heart that different opportunities through life started to kind of come together. And I began mentoring youth first at the church. And then I worked with a group called Covenant Youth Development, and that all the while I'm still working, a regular job. And then that kind of transition. I started working with adults with developmental disabilities, and then the opportunity came for me to begin working with at-risk juvenile boys, and it wasn't something that I had dreamed about doing,
Yeah.
but it fit because that work with the juvenile boys, that was like, so when I go into a court to interview a child, I didn't see, what he did. I saw, he gonna see this too. That's my homeboy Robbie. Oh, that's my guy Damon. That's my friend T.
Yeah.
So when I bring these guys in, I don't look at them for what they've done. I just say, okay, the environment or the circumstances that you came up in. Now let's just see who you really are. And when I talk to them, it's like, do you want to be? One thing I can offer you is a chance to learn how to be a citizen, like a hardworking person legally that can take care of yourself and take care of your family.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's always the goal when I start. That's the one for the work, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that when you find the thing you're passionate about, because as you're explaining that to me, and I recognize that my passions don't align there, so I'm hearing you, I'm like, man, that's a lot, right? On top of still showing up in your own household and dealing with those challenges, now you're carrying the baggage, I'm gonna say, and not to say that in a negative context, but for the sake of conversation, you're carrying the baggage of others as well. But for you, it sounds like your cup is still filled at the end of the day. That leaves you room to show up in your household as well. So when did you know? And I don't want to like flip the interview,
No, it's
but I
okay.
love
We
the
have a
conversation.
It's okay.
But like, when did you know that this was the work you were called to do? Because the reason I think that's important, especially for men, and it's not to exclude others, but a man without a goal, a man without a purpose is a miserable man to be around. When did you find out that that was your goal, that was your purpose outside of your household that you could really focus on?
I believe it's definitely a calling. I looked at it from the beginning as a calling, but I didn't know that it would be a vocation. Like, I didn't know I would get paid. Like I said, I started off, mentoring, and I have 4 daughters. At the time when I started, I had 3.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have any sons. So, but I had a dream that God was going to give me sons. And I'm thinking that it's biological.
Yeah.
The clock kept going, and then I kind of gave up on the fact that I was going to have a son, even though we still had the capabilities, you know what I'm saying, so at the time. So, but what happened was, when I started working with adults with developmental disabilities, they were young adults. And it was like, and I was helping them, I was doing supported living things, like helping them run their household, helping them cook, helping them, go to their doctor's appointments and things. And it was like, I can do this. Like, I'm not tired. And then when I went through the process of opening up a group home, I had so many obstacles and hurdles.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, my wife at one point was like, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. But for me, it was like, if it's this hard, then I think I'm definitely supposed to be doing this. And so that's kind of like the confirmation that I had. And I remember just telling God, like, I don't have a plan B. Like, this is it. I'm going all in on this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, to answer your question, that's how I knew, like, at that moment. And then, and what really sealed it was, my wife's an introvert. She's a very private person. So when we first, the outline of how we opened the group home was that we live, like, my 2 older daughters, well, my 2 middle daughters were in high school. And so we stayed in part of the house, and then I had the boys in part of the house.
Yeah.
But we all, like, we would eat together. I had high school boys. They went to school with my daughters. But when I asked my wife, I said, I was thinking about, working, opening up a group home, working with at-risk youth. You could say no. And she was like, if that's what you want to do, then I support it. And we had a duplex one time earlier in our marriage. And I'm talking about separate entrances, upstairs, downstairs. She didn't even want nobody staying in the same building.
So that's a big leap, right?
So I do. If she said yes, I said, I know that this is meant to be, because she had no problem saying, like, no.
Yeah.
So that's kind of for me. I want to get back to that curiosity. You said, when you in the Woodruff Village and you go outside, That's what you say, right?
Yeah.
So you go outside, you take trash, you look at the stars. I want to be a scientist. Did anybody in your young life that helped pull that curiosity out of you?
Yeah, and I can't remember the teacher name, but it was one Christmas, right? And so when you're growing up poor, you only get Christmas gifts from either Salvation Army, if they have it, or if the school actually gives you
Right.
anything. So the school for, and I believe it was Nathan Hale was the name of the school.
Okay.
And they had all the kids write down on a piece of paper, like, what do you want for Christmas?
Right.
So everyone did, Nintendo 64 and all this, and I just said a computer.
Okay.
So I didn't expect to get it or anything else. And then she showed up to the house with this big, clunky machine. The only way you can navigate it was using tabs. It was black, green letters all over or numbers.
Yeah.
So that was my first computer. And for me, that was the sign, right? That someone believed in me enough to go out. And she was like, you're the only student who asked for a computer. So for Christmas, and it was a really old computer. The school had it. They gave it to me. And I remember just days, like just staying up, just trying to figure out what can I do with this thing now, right? Like for me, that was the first step of, again, I just said scientist. It's the equivalent of saying doctor, right? It's like, well, what kind of doctor? For me, that was my first step. It's like, okay, I now have this powerful thing. What can't I do with it?
Right.
So I just stayed up days playing. I didn't make a lot of progress. I didn't get into developing, didn't get into coding, right? There was a lot of ignorance there, but for me, it was the ability to play around with this thing, and it was an external signal to say like, oh, someone believes in you.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest one, especially for my youth. And then just throughout growing up in general, like teachers have always been my biggest advocates. They'll take a little signal and they'll do little things, right? As 7th, 8th grade, I was taking high school biology.
Okay.
Just because it was, in at that grade level, they allow you to dissect owl pellets.
Okay.
And I dissected mine, but then I saw that my owl had ate a mouse. And I started reconstructing the bones, putting it back together. And there's nothing, right? There's nothing extravagant about that. There's nothing, I'm playing with Legos.
Right.
But a teacher saw that and it's like, okay, you're going to 9th grade biology. So that allowed me to fast track my science track when I was in high school. Again, another sign, right? There's this idea of a halo effect, and I hate to bring that up, but I've always been surrounded by people who have a lot of faith in my abilities, even when I'm not necessarily sure I can do the thing. And it's the whole idea of I don't want to let this person down now.
Right.
So it's this gentle pressure, and I'm very grateful for it. But very frequently, I've been placed in positions where I now need to rise to the occasion, even if I'm like, I don't even know if I can do this, right? And that's I can't give you like exact moments, but just consistently, I've just had these signals, these reinforcing factors that just told me that I can do this thing.
No, I love that. I love that.
It becomes a sickness though, right? And the reason is now I have this ego where it's like, why can't I do that? And I live like mentally in my head, it's, if you show me one person, another human being that has done this thing, I'm like, okay, well, people do stuff every day. I can just go out and do it. I just have to take the right steps. It's like we have an amazing artist over there. She can sing her butt off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure I can sing if I gave enough effort. Now that's a sickness because I shouldn't think that. There's nothing like about me that can, but in my head it's like, all right, if given enough time, given enough effort, I can go ahead and figure it out.
But you need that. I mean, as far as for what your passions push you towards.
Yeah.
Like you said, I wouldn't, say, oh, you're going to be the best singer if that's not what your heart wanted to do. But just to prove a point. Now,
Just to prove a point.
That would be,
Yeah.
Say Mike Tyson said he had a dose of megalomania.
Yeah. it's I jokingly say that it's a sickness, but it is. It's beneficial. I happen to live in a society that awards individuals who look at the world that way and think that they can go out and do whatever they want to. But also, I'm very fortunate that I have the household that I have that gives me the grace to go out and explore and play around and do these things.
So like I said, this is 2 cups, like one for the wake, one for the work. So I always try to ask people, a lot of times we answer it just in the conversation, but like, what's fueling you these days? Like, what's waking you up in the morning? Like, What are you grateful for? What are you dreaming about?
Yeah. I've done and I shouldn't say me and my partner's done a really great job at building a household without having examples.
Mm.
So I have three littles, and one of them's actually 15. We were young parents. So we have three younger kids, and I just love the fact that they're able to see me trying to build a business.
Hmm.
They're able to see me and my wife work together
Yeah.
as partners. And it really is just imagine having a fan club that you actually adore and love, and just like, ooh, look at the cool thing I'm going to do today,
Hmm.
right? And that's like a huge motivator for me, because in their mind, it's like, Dad can do it. He's going to figure it out. Oh, Dad's already doing it. Like
Oh
they,
man, yeah.
so it motivates the heck out of me, because it's what can I show them today that I'm going to be able to achieve. The other day, and this is how. Let's kind of like bring it all home about that whole motivation thing. I'm just sitting on the couch chilling with my son. He's 9. And out of nowhere, he was like, Dad, thank you for providing us a life that you didn't have.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, chill. Like I'm not trying to
to
cry
break me
right now.
down.
Yeah, like chill. We just supposed to be watching TV right now. Like, go do something. But it's those little moments where, like, that's super rewarding, because I didn't have an example. I didn't have a peer group. Like within my group, within like this age category, the people that we grew up with, we're the only ones that's married. We're the only ones in the household. We're the only ones raising kids together. So it's honestly been only the last 3 or 4 years that I've been able to meet the people I probably should have met years ago. But we didn't have those examples growing up, and we've been honestly each other's, advocates, coaches. We're each other's peer group, me and my wife, and we've just been figuring it out, and we've been able to make a very beautiful family, and that's super motivating for me. Like it really keeps me driving every single day.
So what would you say to a young Lewis like that might be in a situation that you were in back then? Like, what would be your advice?
It works out.
It works out.
It works out
Yeah.
because there's a lot of anxiety, right? There's a lot of, when you don't have examples, and I say this all the time, people love to look at an individual who grew up poor in the hood and say like, oh, just change your condition or change your situation. Do you know how crazy it is to assume you're going to do something completely different where you have no example of anyone else doing it?
Right.
You're saying like, you can go out. Imagine the first person who tried milk, right? Like that person was, it's just like, it was like, oh, you can go and do this thing. Like, imagine how crazy he or she must have seemed, where it's like, I'm going to attempt this thing that no one else has ever done, right? So growing up, you don't see examples of people achieving their dreams. You don't see examples of people like, again, when I said the scientist, is probably Bill Nye, the science guy or something.
Right,
It's just
right.
like, that was the scientist in my head. But you don't have concrete examples of an uncle or a cousin or somebody else doing the thing. So being able to go back to a young Lewis and say like, hey, it works out, just keep doing the work,
Yeah.
will be super powerful, because I can remember that anxiety of like, I don't know how the heck any of this is going to happen.
Right.
I just know I want it to happen. And it is so far so good, right?
That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Like I said, this is my my third season of the podcast. What's fueling me these days is just like I said, seeing young people thrive, get the education that they need. I sit on the board of a amazing local organization, and doing after school outreach, doing, getting them. We have what's called a cradle to career model.
Love it. Yeah.
So it's following a student from the earliest of ages, and then all the way through a career, through college, and just taking that approach. And we have what's called success coaches, and this year was the first year to kind of launch that. So that's what's fueling me these days. I want to see like these young people
Yeah.
be data scientists,
Yeah, right.
you know what I mean, or be podcasts, or be
Yeah.
engineers, or be whatever, and change the narrative of our communities that, are producing these viral moments on social media in a
Yeah.
negative way.
Yeah,
what I
it's a
mean?
lot of noise there. So as you're working with, like, I'm obsessed with Toledo, right? So for the longest, I've had the ability to live anywhere, but I'm choosing Toledo because for me, it's a blank canvas. And in this day and age, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to say they built a city, right? They made a city to what it is. So as you're working with youth, one of the challenges that I'm seeing, at least within our area or within Toledo, is that we don't have a lot of reasons for someone who is younger, who has a lot of momentum to actually stay here. Like we're a very big exporter of talent.
No, I know exactly what you're talking
Right.
about.
So in your, you said from cradle to career.
So
Yeah, how are you guys overcoming that?
now this is a new thing. So I am not the architect of this, but my good friend Dr. Sweeney, he's actually in the audience today. He's building relationships with like the University of Toledo or some of the bigger employers like Owens, Corning, and different large scale like Fortune 500 companies, and getting the employees or the students from the university to kind of help and volunteer in the community. And having their, like, we're working with some honors students from the University of Toledo, and they're beginning to come and help out. So what it's doing is building a relationship with the institutions, and then those institutions will in turn, like we had one of our young ladies did an internships at one of the big accounting firms here in the city, and she did very well to where they were offering her a job.
That's amazing.
So like if we could get the stakeholders or the big corporations and humanize them, because they're talented people that work in those organizations, and then having them connect with the youth in our city and see them, like now they're seeing them outside of a statistic, and now they get to build those relationships, and then now those bright students have a reason to stay here because, hey, so and so over at that company, they brought me in for an internship, and now
I see a path. I see a future here, right? And that's I think that's great, because that's one of the challenges of not only having a place where people want to live, and when I say live, it doesn't mean just exist in your home, but going out, and enjoying the shops and the different things, but also seeing a future for themselves so that I can live and thrive here. And that's been something just in the back of my head of how do we, as a community, create that ecosystem here in Toledo so that we're not exporting our talent, right? When I did my master's, that was one of the biggest criticisms. Like everyone was like, you should just move to Chicago, just stay in Chicago, stay in Chicago.
just leave, right?
Yeah, and because it's like, you're going back to Toledo for what? Like you're not going to be, and to a degree, there was a sense of like, you're not wrong. But imagine being able to build a city, and I don't know where else in America, at least, where we have the opportunity to do something like that on this scale, right?
Definitely.
So
yeah, I would love to get with you after the pod and keep the conversation going and show you some things that's going on, and you might want to plug into some areas. We have some very bright young students in our city that they just need some direction.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's it.
Well, I don't want to, this has been a great conversation, man. And like I said, I believe that we've made a connection, and I always like to say with my guests, we can, authentically, after we finish with these shootings and these conversations, I like to keep them going and just continue to build. And like you said, I love Toledo as well, and to see where our city goes, and I'm excited. Like I'm excited to be in this place. This is a historic building, but new vibrant things are going on here.
Yes.
New community, around here, around our downtown area. Some beautiful things going on, and I'm just excited to see continue to grow.
Yeah, same. Well, I appreciate it, Al.
Yes, sir. My new friend Lois Lang.
Lewis Lang. See, I did the thing. Wait.
I did it.
True story.
He just told me about that.
When you look at my name on paper, it's Louislane. So when you see it, most people drop the U, and they want to go Lois Lang. So I tell everyone there's a Superman animated series, and Lex Luthor had a phenomenal time. If you don't believe me, look it up. Lex Luthor appeared black. So I just tell everyone it's Lex Luthor and Lois Lane, love child. That's how you get up. So that's my rebut to that. But yeah.
So my new friend Louis Lane.
There you go.
And I'm looking forward to the things that you'll wake and your work here in our community, and we will continue this conversation. Until next time, 2 cups.
Thank you.